Hello everyone, I'm Georgia and this is The Sound of Georgia. So anyone who knows anything about the lovely Julie Andrews, who wasn't born after 2001, that is, knows she was very big in musicals. And how can you not be big in musicals when you have a voice like this? Link in the down below. So considering how many wonderful musicals she did and how many songs there were in all these wonderful musicals that she did, I'm going to be running off my favourites. So before we go any further, I'm just going to say I am doing musical films. I'm not doing stage musicals, so there won't be any Boyfriend, My Fair Lady, Camelot, things like that in here. Julie actually did a lot less musicals than people think. But that doesn't matter, it makes this video a bit easier. But there are also a few musicals that she did that nobody ever remembers. Unless you're a crazy fangirl like me. The first musical film she made was long before she made Mary Poppins. And that was The Singing Princess. I'm not actually going to include Singing Princess in this video because I've only watched it once and I can't really remember more than one line from one song. The bottom line with all of these films is, if she's singing, I love it. So while I'm not going to include The Singing Princess on this list, I am just going to tell you a bit about it because it isn't all that well known and it is the most bizarre combination of everything. So it's an animated film from Italy that was originally released under the title of La Rosa di Baghdad. I hope I'm saying that right. If you've watched my previous videos, you know I am not good with pronunciation of foreign languages. It's this. When it came out in 1949, it was in Italian. It was dubbed into English in 1952, which is where Julie comes in. And after that, it was released under the title of The Rose of Baghdad. It was re-released in 1957 under the title of The Singing Princess because Julie was huge now. In 1957 she was well into the run of My Fair Lady on Broadway, so she was a huge star at that point, and they re-released the film capitalising on the fact that she was in it. But that's not where the bizarre combination comes in. The story is inspired by 1001 Arabian Nights, Aladdin, that sort of thing. So you could say it's the story of Aladdin, with the art style of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, a heroine as interesting as that in Sleeping Beauty. I'm sorry, I loved that movie when I was little, but Aurora is just a snooze. And yes, I'm talking about Julie's character here. She's boring. But she has the voice of Mary Poppins. Literally. So if you throw all those Disney movies into some sort of cauldron and mixed it up, you might end up with this. It's just bizarre. But I've spent a long time talking about a movie that I'm not even going to pick a favourite song for. So let's move on to those that I do have favourite songs for. No, the next one is not Mary Poppins, it's High Tour. This was never released on DVD, but they did make a soundtrack CD at the end of last year. It is available online though. Link in the down below. And I've mentioned it a couple of times before. It's basically this story where Bing Crosby owns a mountain. I don't know how it works either. And Julie plays a dead Dutch girl. Story-wise, it's even more bizarre than The Singing Princess, but at least I can pick a favourite song. And that is Once Upon a Long Ago. Nope, still not Mary Poppins. The next one is Cinderella. It's Rodgers and Hammerstein. It's Julie, What's Not to Love. My favourite song from this one would definitely have to be the first one Julie sings, which is In My Own Little Corner. But as I said, what's not to love about Julie singing Rodgers and Hammerstein? So now we're up to Mary Poppins. This one is really, really hard actually. I honestly don't know if I have a singular favourite when it comes to Mary Poppins. As far as the stage version goes, my absolute favourite song is Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious because it's just so amazing. But it's very different on stage than it is in film. And while Julie's the greatest singer in the entire universe forever and ever, the song is much better in the musical, I think. I do really like A Man Has Dreams, which is the one Mr. Banks sings at the very end, after Step in Time. And I also really like the overture, even though there's hardly any singing in it. But it is hard to choose a singular favourite from Mary Poppins, so I'm kind of going with Singing Princess on this one and saying whenever she's singing. Next we have The Sound of Music, and I may have mentioned this in one of my previous Sound of Music videos, I'm not sure. But my favourite song is the opening song, including the pensive musical-only intro. Even though that's not in the film, it's still my favourite song. So continuing on the theme of intro songs and overtures being my favourite, next up we have Thoroughly Modern Millie. And that's exactly my favourite song, the opening one. So next up we have Star, and with the movie that's basically 3 hours of Julie singing and very little else, you might think it might be hard for me to choose a favourite, but it's easier than it is with Mary Poppins actually. And that would have to be Do Do Do. Yes, that's actually what it's called, and it's not even one of the big ones in the movie. My Ship and Saga of Jenny would be much bigger in terms of the movie, and I do really like those ones, but Do 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 is my favourite. Moving on to Darling Lily. Julie really did do a lot less musicals than people think. It's just the musicals and the more remembered ones. Unless you're my age. Princess Diaries. Allergies. Back to Lily, while like Star and Sound of Music and pretty much all of these, I love them all. My favourite would have to be The Girl in No Man's Land. So Darling Lily was Julie's last musical for a long time. So while the next one might not technically be a musical, I'm not sure. I'm going to talk about it because the songs are really interesting as far as my relationship with them goes, and that is SOB. I hate the opening song. All I have to do is think about it and it gets stuck in my head. Yeah, it's in there now. This is probably the only time I've ever listened to Julie and wanted her to stop. And I have a song on my iPod that is literally 4 minutes of her going, ah. I'm a hopeless singer compared to Julie. But I have that on my iPod, and the opening scene of SOB is worse. And then you have the song in the final scene of SOB. It's very pretty. I can't remember it at all. At all. The second that scene finishes, I can't remember it at all. I can't remember what it's called, I can't remember any of the lyrics, I can't remember the tune, but I know it's very pretty. I think it's a pretty song, and I don't remember any of it. And they're just really the reasons I wanted to bring up SOB. Now I'll probably have to take a break and get Polly Woolly Doodle All Day out of my head. Damn, it's back in there. Moving on, after Julie did SOB, she did Victor Victoria. Now we're getting back up to the really good stuff. I have mentioned it in a couple of earlier videos, but Victor Victoria is a 2-for-1, because they made a stage version. However, my favourite song would be the same for both, and that is Crazy World. I do really like the musical only Almost a Love Song, but A, I don't think it tops Crazy World even as far as the musical goes, and B, I said at the beginning, we're not really focusing on the musicals, just the movies. And that's everything. They are all the musical films Julie has made thus far, and given that she can't sing the way she used to anymore, I highly doubt there'll be any more. I really don't think it's very likely for her to do any movies anymore, unless they make a Princess Diaries 3. I really don't know how I feel about that. I'd probably go and see it, but yeah. Let me know in the comments what your favourite Julie song is. Musical, movie, stage, whatever. I think my favourite would have to be Polonaise, simply because how amazing it is. She's 12. But let me know your thoughts. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my video next week. So long, farewell!